That said, so tell me about the different boots. Let's just sort of we talked about this earlier that there's kind of a family or style of, there are a few boots that fit into a certain kind of family.
Sure.
Tell me about that.
So the way a lot of guys look at boots, uninsulated and insulated, we have the 4 insulated boots and 4 uninsulated boots. Mm-hmm. And then, the other thing is you have full leather, exterior boots, and then you have like mixed fabrics. Your Summits, for example, mix Cordura suede and a PU coated leather. Mm-hmm. So like this is a good, uninsulated boot.
This is the Summit.
So the color here, for example, so let me start from the bottom up. The Vibram sole, in this particular sole, Vibram, as Crispi's had a relationship with Vibram since inception, and this particular sole is a proprietary sole to Crispi. Like they've developed, kind of like a snow tire would have like additional siping to kick off snow. They've tested this boot and put all these different cuts in here with the thought, hey, we want a boot that's going to kick off mud, that won't carry dirt as regularly as another boot sole. So the sole is Vibram. The midsole, which is this here, dual density, because you can see the 2 colors. And that's not just a design feature, although I'm sure you like it because it's got
it's not just for aesthetic reasons.
Racing stripe on it.
Yeah, I am fast.
We know. You love that cardio stuff. But so dual density EVA, this is a different, from all the boots we carry this year on the lineup, having an EVA midsole, this is unique to the Summit. The boot that Aaron's been testing has a dual density EVA. It's the density of his is actually creates more of a stiff sole, which is what he demanded. And then so we're looking at that as well, from creating a different feel and function just by changing the density of the midsole. Okay. But then yours has this whole rand piece, which is traditionally a rubber on a lot of hunting boots. This is a PU coated leather, a polyurethane coated leather. Just a different application, and it lightens up the boot a little bit by putting a rubber rand on it because it's obviously lighter than leather. But this, from a design standpoint and from a durability, this is pretty bomber, and you can see it's triple stitched. Mm-hmm. And then you've got suede like through here, and then on the inside, suede on this side, and then the Cordura that comes through here. And we've added, that multi-use or fabric use provides for better breathability. Warmer weathers you can run that boot. It's gore booty all the way to the top. So yeah, the Summit's unique in that it employs the PU coated leather rand as well as the dual density EVA midsole.
So based on your limited experience so far, I just by looking at the boots, comparing the Summit here to this Nevada, it seems like this boot is going to last longer than this boot. Am I wrong? Because when I think Cordura and fabric, I just think it just can't hold up like leather can.
No, you're absolutely right. As far as that perception, like we've talked about, like feet shape is so different.
Yeah.
Boot use is so different. If you're talking like baseline, leather's going to last longer than a fabric will. And a lot of people have looked at kind of Cordura and said, oh, that's a cheap fabric. And it's, that's what we're looking at, different types of suedes, thicknesses of suedes. Crispi, in the production process, we look at different thicknesses of leather in different areas of boots, like this one here.
Yeah.
On the Summit. But
I like Cordura. The Zephyr was made out of fabric. A lot of it with leather. It was mixed in with the plastic outer skeleton frame.
Yeah.
But very similar. I wore that boot beat the heck out of for like 5 years, and Alaska like 3 times, Prince of Wales a couple times, and pouring rain, mud, and that boot is still going. And then this boot, I've beat the heck out of it. So my experience is, I expect it to break down faster than a full leather upper, but I haven't really seen that be the case necessarily.
The treatment of the fabric obviously is different than, you're not going to put the same waterproofing cream on like a leather that you will on the Cordura, where you'd use more of a spray.
Yeah.
waterproofing spray. But that Summit's definitely a unique boot. In our lineup, it's unique in that it has the type of midsole, and then the combination of the PU coated leather.
I'm in love with this boot. So what are other people saying? Am I like alone in this, or
man,
is this
that boot? Like one of our friends, Ty McFarland's a guide out in Colorado, guides mule deer and whitetail, guides on Tiburon Island. He took that boot to Tiburon and just loved it. I mean, he thought it was just going to get torn to shreds, kind of like what you were insinuating or thinking. The guys, born and raised guys, are using this boot. Trevor and
Cody and
Cody,
Trent?
not yet. Trent is, yeah. And so here you got guys in Oregon, guys in Colorado. The guy that goes to
Tiburon,
the desert. Yeah. We've got a lot of guys in Arizona use that boot because it is uninsulated. It breathes. Your temperature range can be better. But then when you go to you're talking to family, it's that the Summit kind of is in a little bit of a family of its own, and it leads into where we're going for 2017 in two of the models. One that we've spec'd out, another model that Crispi does make for the European market that we're putting some tweaks on, that we want to kind of marry up with the Summit in that lighter weight, more mobile, a little more flex. And then the upper on this one, if it flexes. I mean, it's a softer upper. There's no integrated ankle support into the Summit, where the rest of the boots outside of the Valdres has the ABSS, which is that ankle bone support system that actually is a piece that's built in to wrap around the ankle. Which I don't know if did you feel a difference in this boot?
Oh yeah,
from an ankle support?
I mean, like I said, I like a lighter weight boot, with more flexibility. So I felt like the Nevada or the Summit offered is all the stability that I needed to be really effective and get places and carry a heavy load and not twist my ankle and all that kind of stuff. I felt like it gave me everything I needed. I will say that Nevada is that one step up from there in stability, and I'm definitely, if I were to be dropped off on a float plane in the middle of nowhere, and and it was just like you're there for 2 weeks or a week and you've got no backup, and when you get picked up, you get picked up. I think I'd rather bring the Nevadas with me.
Yeah, or its big brother, the Guide, which is just a little bit taller, and then if you were, some guys like the even taller Hunter, and those are all kind of that same.
And that's what I mean. I would rather bring that heavy duty, a little warmer, a little more rock solid, a little more stability kind of boot with me for those kind of life and death kind of type hunts, right? But hunting everywhere that I pretty much went this year, I would much rather wear the Summits for just bombing out in the woods and doing my thing. But if it came down to a really kind of a more rugged wilderness, backcountry kind of thing where you're really legit back there, I think I feel more comfortable just bringing the Nevadas along, or one of these other ones, just
the Guide or the Hunter.
They're warmer, a little more stable. I just think I don't know, maybe it's just in my head, but you can't go wrong with that, right? And where the Summit to me is sort of more of a luxury boot for me, but not if I had to choose between the two, and I was going to buy one boot, I can't say. I think I might, start with the Nevadas and then go from there.
It's that's one conclusion most guys have made. It is our best-selling boot. This and the Idaho being a little bit different, but one of the things, technically speaking, that I don't know if you're aware of, Brian, that so when you look at EVA, which is in the Summit boot as the midsole. Yep. And then this is a polyurethane, and this is dual density with two different colors here, highlighting that. And this is a dual density. You've got this density, which is the crossbow frame that Crispi created, and then another density. Scientifically speaking, if you look at breakdown of materials, I've read a number of studies about these type of materials. Now EVA, typically, like a standard EVA, like what you have in your running shoes, like those Nikes you've got on, or anything you take to the gym, that EVA is going to start breaking down after about 10,000 flexes or 10,000 compressions. Which, imagine if you got your Fitbit and you're walking 10,000 steps a day, boom.
9 miles a day, 10 miles a day.
Yeah, that doesn't mean, if you're on a hunt, walking 6 miles in or 3 miles in or even a mile and a half in, mile and a half out, you've got 3 miles. That doesn't mean that midsole has completely degraded at that point. It just simply means that it's starting to break down. So the more miles you put on an EVA midsole, typically speaking, now EVA midsole might be from a 10,000 compression up to maybe a 30 or 40,000 compression, depending on the density.
Right.
And what that means for us as hunters is that after I reach a certain point in a boot, you start to feel foot fatigue or skeletal fatigue because that load or that impact is now transferring not into the boot. The boot's not absorbing that. It's transferring through the boot to your body, to your skeletal.
Yeah.
That's why guys like, man, my hips just kill after this, or man, my knees are starting to hurt. Well, yeah, I get the same way with my trail runners. After 300 miles of my trail runners,
they're done.
They're done. Yeah, I'm using them for mowing the lawn. That's it. The difference is between an EVA and a PU midsole is that PU starts breaking down, on the low end around 35,000 compressions up to 80,000 compressions on a couple of the studies I've read. So that's why primarily most of the boots in our lineup you're going to have the PU dual density midsole, because durability, durability, they're going to both be quite durable, but weight, as you put a big load on your back or even just go many miles over rugged terrain, you're going to feel more comfort longer. We're talking 2-3 years if you're the typical hunter that gets out, maybe gets after it for a week solid and then does a few, half a dozen day hunts. That boot's you're gonna feel that comfort longer in that type of midsole versus the midsole that you're currently using.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean this is bad and this is this is good and this is bad. It just means that you're going to do a different performance. So when when a guy's shopping boots, should pay attention to what kind of materials are used in not just like Gore and Vibram, but also the types of support elements, as well as in particular for us as hunters, the midsole. Like what kind of material is that, and how long can I really get life out of that boot?
Because when I go to put on a pair of boots and these two are sitting side by side, I always reach for the Summit.
Yeah, because it's your first love.
Almost every time. But I'm very happy with the Nevada. I love the Nevada. But, if I have the choice, I choose the comfort one because that's just my style.
That's what your feet are telling you.
Yeah, it's just what I like to do. Totally. But if the conditions are that much more rugged, a little more solid, or if I don't have the money to have both pair, this is just a bomb-proof boot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of that depends on where you live and what style of hunting you're doing.
True.
When I'm talking to guys, I kind of
consider. If
consider,
you're in like Phoenix, Arizona,
yeah, I kind of consider the Summit our warm weather or our early season boot.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're going on a sheep hunt up in Alaska or wherever it be, you're going to want more of a mountaineering style boot. That's when you pick the Nevada or the Guide or Hunter. Which the biggest difference between the three is Nevada's basically we'll call it an 8-inch boot. And then the Guide jumps up to a 10-inch boot. That's the boot I've been wearing this year, just for a little bit extra ankle support. I'm the guy that rolls his ankle in the parking lot.
Yeah.
So I decided to go with the full 10-inch boot.
And you found that really helps.
And yep. And I love that boot. Not to beat a dead horse, but the second I tried it on, it was by far the most comfortable boot I've ever worn. I've worn quite a few Italian-made, high-end, what we would call our competitors' boots in the past, and that boot out of the box was so comfortable.
And this is the
Guide.
That's the Guide.
So
you got the Nevada, which is the lowest.
The lower boot.
The lower boot.
And then the Guide's 2 inches taller.
And then the Hunter.
And then the Hunter's 2 inches on top.
That Hunter is tall.
Beefcakes right there.
Yeah. It reminds me kind of those Danner pronghorn style.
And some guys, it's weird. Some guys absolutely love that height. And guys like me, I'm like, no thanks.
It's just a lot of extra boot that doesn't do much.
But
unless you're a guy who really,
or late season, we have a lot of guys that don't care to wear a gator that
Yeah.
will wear
Yeah.
this boot.
I hate wearing a gator.
guy-
I never.
sheep hunters.
Aaron wears gators everywhere, and I never wear a gator. I'd rather get wet.
I wear gators everywhere.
Does he wear them to work too?
He probably would if, but no, I could see these. So you're saying you like the guide, Scott?
I prefer the guide.
Just
I think
gives you that little extra
it gives me a
stability,
little bit extra support
without
side hilling.
all that extra, without too much.
Yeah, and it gives me a little bit better peace of mind too.
Yeah.
Because I do have I've had some fairly serious ankle injuries in the past, so it just gives me that extra peace of mind that it's getting all the way up. Just
Yep.
the guide hits me. I'm 6 foot. It hits me just below my calf muscle.
What's
so I'm
your-
getting the full ankle support all the way up to the calf?
What is the best selling boot? What boot do you sell more than any other boot?
The Nevada, and
Really? So-
close to the Nevada would be the Idaho,
Which is this one right next to it. Yeah, these
Okay.
two are kind of big brother, little brother.
So these are the Idaho.
And then the Wyoming is this shorter one.
Okay, Idaho is the taller one.
Yep.
Wyoming's the shorter one.
Uninsulated. As you can see, it employs
How are these different than the Summit? I guess the sole.
the sole. No, the midsole.
Midsole?
You know, the dual density midsole.
Uh-huh.
This one has a PU coated leather like you on
Yeah.
the underside, but then
But
a
it's got
rubber
the
band
rubber band.
on the top.
How do they feel compared to the Summit? Because they seem a little more.
They're a little stiffer, little more
stiffer.
beef. Like this Wyoming,
but would breathe well.
breathe really well. Like, you know, again, having heard so many people say, "Oh, out of the box, they're comfortable." I took that. I was going to use my my Nevadas in Colorado for high country this year. Went in the day before we left. I put those boots on. I wore them for driving to Colorado with South and Justin, and then hiked in 10 miles the next day in them, and they were money. I was really surprised. I mean, I was taking a little bit of a risk, but I also wanted to just kind of put it to the test. Like, are these really that comfortable out of the box? Because it'd been a couple years since I had a brand new pair of Crispies, and I tried the Valdres. I used the Valdres this spring, but the Wyoming and Idaho, big brother, little brother, as far as still get good breathability, great waterproofness, but you still have the ankle support in here. But not the full leather package like in the Nevada guide.
So you sell a lot of these too.
The Idaho in particular, the taller one.
The taller one.
Yeah.
That's a sweet boot. I gotta admit, it is a cool looking boot.
We've had it like the Team Backcountry guys, Dustin Whitwer and his brother are using that boot, and Travis Nwantne's using that boot. There's a number of guys that are pretty visible on Instagram that have. It surprised me honestly that guys would gravitate to that initially when typically like guys are looking at
full leather. Yeah,
but it's performed really well beyond our expectations.
Yeah, that's cool.
And
that's kind of like a Summit on steroids a little bit. Like,
yeah, those boots too. Like of all these boots we've looked at, the Guide, the Idaho, and the Wyoming are boots that you can only find in the North American market. The Nevada is a Crispi staple, as is the Hunter, and we've made a couple of changes. And also the other thing is the last, what some guys find with, and I don't know, do you have narrow feet, wide feet?
Wide.
Okay. And I don't know, the last that Crispi's made for us for these boots is more generous than your typical European.
What's a last?
The last is the pattern by which they shape or make the shape of the boot.
Yeah, because European boots seem to be fairly narrow traditionally.
That's typical. And what we, guys have experienced, particularly the Idaho and the Wyoming, that boot we just looked at, that those have a generous toe box.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of customers explain just how psyched they've been on just the fit from a width standpoint, being pretty spot on to what American boots typically have been.
I got to admit, when I first got these, they seemed kind of narrow, like down the center.
Those are
on the
just
summits.
a hair narrower than.
But you put them on, and they just felt like heaven to me, and just like a glove, like perfect. So, what's this boot here?
That is the Wild Rock.
Okay, tell me about this boot.
So that boot's more of our our late season boot, or maybe a tree stand hunter, somebody from the Midwest or even the West that's going to hunt late season in the snow or sit in a tree. It's got 400 grams of Primaloft insulation. So it's a pretty warm boot. It's a full grain leather. And like I said, that's for the guys who are hunting in the snow, who are hunting in 0-degree temperatures, or sitting in a tree stand for long periods of time. Something that's just going to keep their feet nice and toasty.
And this is called the
Wild Rock.
Wild Rock.
And the full grain, basically on the nubuck leather on here that you see in most traditional hunting boots, it's a little bit of a distressed leather, where the full grain will repel water.
It's smoother.
Yeah, it will repel water longer than a nubuck.
Yeah.
Where eventually this leather will absorb some water.
Right.
So that's why you want to retreat it.
It still has a waterproof Gore-Tex membrane, but it's still gonna the leather itself.
All
will
leather
absorb
will
some water
at some point. Start to you need to be retreated. But the full grain does a little bit better job of that, just out of the box and out of the gate.
Okay.
Same ankle bone support system in there. Same PU code. Dual density midsole, vibram sole.
Yeah, it's very similar to the guide. I guess the two biggest differences would be the guide has the nubuck leather, where the Wild Rock has the full grain.
Yeah.
And the guide has that insulated Gore-Tex booty, like Kendall talked about at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one actually has a 400-gram Primaloft, so it's a pretty
heavy-duty warm.
Yeah, it is a warm boot.
Yeah. Okay. And then what am I looking at here?
That is a boot called the Valdres.
That is what you were saying you were using.
I used that all spring for my one shed hunting outing that I was successful at. Hiking, training hikes all summer. I almost was going to take that to Colorado, and I wanted to. I'm spoiled, right? So I wanted to try the Wyoming.
And this is the Valdres.
I love that boot. It's uninsulated. It comes in actually as the least expensive boot in our lineup, and it's not. So it's a combination of a couple things. You got a full leather. You don't have the ankle bone support system in here, which helps keep that price a little lower. We took the European version of this, had an orange midsole, didn't have a rubber rand. We added those elements to that. It actually uses some neoprene type fabric in the tongue, just from a comfort standpoint. But it breathes extremely well. Been pretty surprised at how that's for the guy that wants a summit type boot, like a kind of a early to mid season boot. Wants to wear it, set up trail cameras in the summer when it's warmer, but wants a full leather versus like a combination of Cordura suede or otherwise.
So this is I'm just gonna say
that's the one that Corey is wearing.
Corey Jacobson.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of ugly though. I mean, no offense, Corey, but I just think it's kind of ugly. I mean, it's not that fashion
it doesn't jump out to you.
It's got you got some boots here that just say, I'm cool. This boot just has the more, my grandpa would wear it kind of look.
Dude, I'm not hurt.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I mean, for all those people who are in love with this boot, that's cool. I just think it, there's cooler looking ones, but I'd have to wear it to really be able to make it.
What you're saying is next week in the factory, I need to tell those guys to dress that up.
I just throwing it out there.
Brian said,
maybe it's that it doesn't have a black lace on it or something. I don't know.
We put the gray laces on you. That's a little different.
Maybe that's what that is. So
dude, I love your candidness, man. That's no problem doing that.
So this boot here. This is cool.
It's a prototype.
Yeah.
We're playing with.
This looks a lot similar to the one that Aaron tried out. At least more than the rest of these
I
here.
think Aaron's uses this wireframe,
Yep.
on here versus a little bit different, but it's very similar. Aaron's uses more suede than Cordura, like in this one. This one we're playing around with. Again,
it's so
we
Euro.
It is Euro. We want to
which is
that.
cool, I think. Now, on the other hand, I think this is cool.
Weight-wise, what's
this
that?
is not something my grandpa's going to wear.
No.
This is what my grandpa's going to wear.
Yeah,
Dad's not wearing
It's funny you say that because we've had disagreements here in the office whether or not that boot is cool. I think that is a cool looking boot. I see that and it would just pop off the shelves, and I'd love to wear that boot.
That's right. Me too.
Whereas Mark, who's a little bit more old school than me, thinks that would be the ugliest boot in the lineup. So it's funny how
Mark was showing me
people's opinions are so different.
Oh, true. He was showing me some stuff, and he was like, "Yeah, we like some of these boots, but they have a really Euro feel to them." And I'm like, and I said, "Well, does that not sell here? Because I like the look, you know." And he's
those
like,
2 prototype images, yeah.
And he's like, but I'm not convinced. Like Aaron's walking around in orange Scarpas, you know. He would like them to be a little less flashy, but it's a personal taste thing. For sure.
What's the weight on that compared to your Summit?
I mean, this doesn't feel. It's hard to say. I mean, it feels like this is lighter for sure.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. We're not like shaving grams, like cutting our toothbrushes in half, but we're trying to.
If you look at this, just the boots. If you look at just these boots side by side, you know, this boot doesn't have any extra material, right?
No,
I mean, it's like lightweight mountaineering. They've made this boot as efficient as possible.
That's the goal of that one, and this is a combination of some of the things we wanted, some of the things they wanted us to try. We've had this one out with Chris, who works with us on the customer service side in Black Ovis, and he's in love with it. He's kind of probably wants it back because we commandeered it for a little bit, but we're. Like
cool boot.
Like we talked about, we're trying to reach. There's a faction of hunters, and we're talking mostly bow hunters that want. These are the guys like Steve Speck. I'm calling you out, Steve. That's a Solomon trail runner guy.
Yeah,
and I got nothing to. I love I love to trail run. Zach Griffith. I'm calling you out.
Yeah.
There's a faction of hunters that are wearing trail running shoes. They really have no business being in a trail runner shoe because of both the load we carry, but we want like a nimble shoe that will be stable, that also is ounce per ounce lighter. So we're toying with, and that's the beauty about what we're doing is we can, our factory can be
nimble.
Yeah, we can
design new stuff.
Crispi's got our full attention. They're starting, we're building stuff for this market, not just building stuff and hoping that the U.S. market also loves it, just like Finland and Sweden and France.
Right. You're custom making products for
hunters.
For hunters.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was telling you today, I'd be wearing a pair of these Crispies, on the plane and, hanging out around town and stuff like that if there was a more trail running style option available just for kind of your day-to-day stuff. I'd be happy. I love that kind of thing. I love wearing those.
Should I bring something back then next week?
That would be spectacular. I mean,
the one thing
stupendous.
Crispi said, and they were just adamant, is they said, we'll never go to China ever because
for production.
There's great shoes that come out of. I mean, my trail running shoes are China made. There's great product that comes out of China, but they're so adamant about the quality, and they don't build stuff to price. They build stuff to the performance.
Right.
So we're marrying up. We're trying to accomplish it, and I hope we can pull it off successfully. I think we're on the right track.
Yeah.
With a couple of prototypes.
Well, I saw those prototypes today. A couple of photographs and images of what you're looking at, and dude, I'd wear those. I'd wear those. Those are cool. They look cool. They look like they're going to be comfortable, very, very nice, and yeah, I'm excited about that. What's the one on the end there?
One on the end is a boot that's in their lineup called the Dakota.
Okay.
BMAC, the Hush crew, he's wearing those this year. Been trying them out. This is more your backpack style boot. Mm-hmm. Honestly, it's a straight up backpacking boot. This boot could probably be just as comfortable on a week long hunt, archery hunt, as it could backpacking in the Tetons. Sold at REI, sold at Cabela's. I mean, it really could span both our industry, hunting, and also kind of the outdoor world. But a little bit different look, aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of different. Obviously the PU coated leather is the Rand piece.
Yep. How does he like them?
He said he's enjoyed them. We're hoping to get some feedback from him just prior to us going over there. But
so stack these up against your more popular or your more common Nevadas. What's the difference? What am I looking at here?
Lighter ounce per ounce, a little bit lighter
boot,
and you're just employing different looking material with the rand not being rubber and a little bit of fabric through here in the upper. And then this also has a lacing system that's a little bit different. It's got a this is a lockdown here. Mm-hmm. So when you lace that up, and that's all the boots. All the boots have a lockdown. That kind of lockdown. And the thing that some guys are like, that we've had a few people that comment it's a little harder to lace that particular lace lock.
Yep.
But the cool thing is it isolates your forefoot from your upper, and it also pulls and sucks your heel back into the heel cup.
Yep.
So a guy can go loose.
Oh, dude, believe me, I've been cussing that thing. Every now and then I'm cussing it because I can't get it to. I'm like, my fingers are freezing. I just crossed the river. I had my pants rolled up to my knees. The boots are hanging around my neck. I get to the other side. I dry my feet, and my hands are frozen. I'm trying to clip that thing and lock it.
It's a little harder.
The thing is once it's locked, your foot is in it.
Yeah, you won't get.
And then it separates that bottom half, like you said, from the top half. I mean, functionally, it's awesome. It's just it's like but you're not going to just lace it up real quick. But at the same time, long term, it's what I want. I just cuss it.
And that's what this one does in a little different. It's a different location and style. That thing locks in there.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that comes down and it actually clicks when you're lacing it. But just different build.
It's
a hair
both
narrower.
of those are some attention to detail.
The last is just a hair narrower on this one, and you have one additional lacing. So you can
the
get
toe
a little
box
bit more,
can get a little tighter,
tighter toe box if you want.
Which I like. Yeah, I like this
having that additional lace loop down the bottom.
Yep.
So
with these summits, I feel like I can get them laced right down, right there, right above my toes, right at the crease of my toes, and I like that. Whereas some boots, a competitor boots or whatever, they're stopping up here, and I can't tighten up right here around my toes, and then my feet are sliding into the front or shifting around. And that's one thing about this is all the hiking I've done, and we're talking 10 to even 12 miles in one day.
Sure.
Day after day, I'm not experiencing blisters, hot spots, not experiencing any problems. They're like, and like I said, I have now tons of experience with the Summit and the Nevadas. These guides really intrigue me.
For a taller boot?
Yeah. Because I don't like to wear gaiters.
Yeah.
I'll put them on for a couple hours, but I don't like them if I don't have to, and I'd rather just get my pants wet. And but the problem with that is, if they will, you can get your boots wet on the inside because they wick from the top down
absolutely.
in. And so
I had that happen in Colorado that one day.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the boots; it was. I was soaked from my waist down.
Yep.
Just walking through wet brush.
And gaiters will help keep that from happening. But with this little bit taller boot, I think that, in some really wet conditions, you get away with just not having to use the gaiters.
Yeah, we had it actually. My friend Jay and one of the Sitka athletes wore that boot on sheep hunts this year up in Alaska. And they beat them up. I mean, they beat them up pretty good. And but it was, that boot can be competitive, in most North American hunting situations.
Yeah. So when are you going to get maybe the fancier ones that Aaron's been like? When will those come to market? Maybe.
That would be late spring or early summer next year. So our production schedule, is we're going to meet with Crispi next week in Italy and go over some of the tweaks we've made, some of the prototypes, and then we're looking. Most of our dealers will have those boots June of next year.
Now, people that are listening, they can go to where can they find a dealer where they can actually go in the store, put the boot on, and walk around with it?
Well, crispius.com is our website.
So if you go to crispius.com, and that's CRISPI-US.com, people go there. They can look up based on their zip code.
Right, it says find a retailer. And then, it shows you a map with, your typical, there's stuff all over the West. For those locations that you don't have something, it's either travel, check out reviews, listen to podcasts like this, get information.
And people can order them online too.
Yeah, they can. And we have a number of dealers that are online.
It's nice to go put them on though.
There's nothing that beats that.
It's so nice to go in, put on your socks the way you're going to wear them. Some guy wears one sock, some guy wears a liner, and then the wool sock and different thicknesses of wool sock. Get whatever your foot fetish thing is, get outfitted.
Insole, no insole.
Yeah, go to a dealer, throw it together, and see, what fits. You could do what. Who was it I was talking to last year at the ATA show? Oh, Bolin Lewis.
Ordered he said
Zappos. He ordered eight boots out of Amazon. And I think he said he's bought $7,000 worth of mountaineering boots at Amazon, tried them all on, and then shipped all the ones back that he didn't like.
Well, don't those guys live in the middle of nowhere too? Or they come off the mountain ever?
Yeah, well, they're guiding all year
up in British Columbia.
Yeah. So
they're
Alan is here in Utah when he's home.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As far as I know. Yeah. But you can do that style. You could just order and then go, oh, these don't work, and then order, oh, these don't work, until you get the size and the style you want. But
we encourage people to buy them from our dealers. We recognize that the dealers, especially the ones that had worked with Crispi in the past, they went on a limb for us, or with us, I guess.
Yeah.
You could say, and we knew we were going to be solid, and we knew we were going to deliver when we said we would. We knew we'd get inventory there. We made financial commitments to make sure we had inventory here in the U.S. But so we recommend people find one of our retailers. If you can't, go on to crispius.com and you can purchase them there. It's going to be just a few dollars higher. Because we sell them at the regular retail price, and then all of our dealers sell it at the MAP price, protected price. But we include a free return or a free label in all the shipments we got. So we have had people that'll, guys that are in, somewhere, where there's, I don't know, middle of nowhere, Montana, where they 6 hours to the closest dealer. So we've had guys that order 2 or 3 pairs, and we just know that 2 of them are probably coming back. Yeah. But that's cool.
Well, the difference, shoes are one of those things, like we were talking earlier. Feet are so different. People's opinions are so different. How they wear their socks or use an insole or whatever. So different that they're one of those things that I like to try on. It's not like I just can order, let's say a gun or something. Yeah. It's like I kind of need, this is special for my foot.
Sure.
So it is nice.
You're not alone. Yeah, you're definitely not alone.
To put them on. I told you I went to REI and I put on every single shoe they had, every boot they had. This is a big REI I was at, and I'm 20 boots later, the guy's like, seriously? Well, I haven't tried that boot. They sucked. I couldn't believe how many sucky boots REI was carrying. I was like, do these... what? It just didn't feel good. It just didn't feel good.
And honestly, there might be a guy that gets... I know a guy that's very, very, very well known in the hunting industry, and he's one of the few people I've talked to that have tried our boots and are like, they're just not for me. They tore me up. Yeah. And I was like, it surprised me, and he's a great guy, and he was like, man, and he goes, I'm not gonna say anything, and I said, dude, you're welcome to tell people, because the thing is if you realize that feet are so unique, our boots, the jury's out. Most guys will come back, say these things are super comfy. They're great fit out of the box. They maintain themselves on the mountain. They prove themselves. But there's guys that, same thing. I shoot a Hoyt. Prime's is not for me.
Right.
Just doesn't feel good, right?
That makes sense to me, though. Sorry,
So
Prime.
But it's just so yeah. No, there will be people that are just like Crispi's not for me.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's fine too. There's some good boot makers out there, and
Right.
but you
No,
know, we're
no.
psyched. We're psyched.
Hey,
to
all I can say is, we've been really happy with what we've used, and I'm very comfortable recommending what I've been using, and encourage people to go check them out and give Crispi a chance. One thing that's nice that Aaron and I are kind of always bringing up is those companies that are really involved in the hunting industry, that support hunting, that really target hunters. Those are nice companies for us to support. You go out and some of these other major boot companies out there that are, borderline anti-hunting or full-blown anti-hunting, I'd rather not see our dollars going to those companies. If there's a company inside our community that really gets us and is contributing to conservation and to our way of life and what we stand for, I'm like, support those guys. And so that's one thing with you is we know where Camo Fire is, we know where Black Ovis is, we know where Crispi US is, where you stand on all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's a company that if you're going to go out and invest in, buy some boots, give them a chance. So
Yeah, thanks. We're not just in Italy. They're not. They don't have elk on the walls like we do here. But
yeah,
they, in fact, when they came, the one Simone was like, they have elk on the walls. Take a picture. Like, we want to see what it looks like. They're not really that. But by the same token, they have been building hunting boots for nearly 40 years. They're not just like a company that said,
Wow.
hey, there's some money over there for us to make. Let's transform, or let's just recolor one of our boots,
right?
And try and make some money in the hunting industry. They're a company that has embraced hunting, as much as they embrace their tactical and their outdoor and their climbing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we realize like we're going to focus on hunting because that's what we do, that's who we are. But we have the full support of Crispi and to keep doing that. And so we've had a couple of people say. This one guy he was a sales rep a few years ago, and he called us up and said, "You guys can't be the same guy that's running Crispi." And we're like, "No, we're not. How do you think?" He goes, "I saw a picture of like dead animals on your website." And like that guy that was distributing before, he was almost anti. He was just And then they felt bad. They made a poor decision on him, but the guy was like, "I'm so psyched to see you guys are passionate hunters. It's exciting for him." A guy that's been in the industry 30 years. So it's cool. But we're we've always told you, for some reason you don't like these boots at some point, like don't endorse them. Don't use them if you don't like them, because we don't want people to use the boots simply because their buddy did or whatever. Use them because you love them, and use them because they perform, and we'll keep innovating and making.
And that's our style too. If I didn't like them, if they didn't work, if I wasn't impressed, I wouldn't be here right now talking to you. I'd be like, sorry, Kendall, but your boots suck.
We'd be hanging out.
We've got other things to go do. I'm like, you wear your Crispis, I'll wear my XYZ, and we'll just be friends. No, this is good stuff. So any parting words before we close this podcast down? Anything you want people to know about?
No.
Any Christmas sales coming up? Camo Fire.
I mentioned so Crispi. We aren't. It's not an on sale type boot, but we do. All of our dealers will have the opportunity and should have boots on sale for like a 5-day period. Black Friday through that following Tuesday or Wednesday.
Cool.
So up to 20% off. So
nice.
It's a rare chance for guys to get our boots at a discount. Not
20%'s pretty dang good, especially when you're talking about a $200 boot, $300 boot, and so on.
$400 boot. Yeah.
No,
and we realize this is investment. There are plenty of guys, and I've got neighbors and friends that are that way. Like, man, I just can't afford that boot, and I completely understand. We're not a boot. Our boot's not for
Yeah.
It should be for everyone foot-wise, but price-wise, it isn't there.
Just real quick, what is your minimum cost boot and your most expensive boot?
So, yeah, the Valdres comes in at $300 or $289, the Summit at $299, up to the Hunter just shy of $500 for $89. Is that right?
Yep.
Scott, keep me honest here.
$489.
So the the Idaho and Wyoming in that $360 to $390, the Nevada at $400. So yeah, it's investment for
it's
sure.
right up there with all the other elite boots that are out there.
Yeah, and people expect to perform, and that's why we backed it up. But to get them on sale is extremely rare. So all of our dealers will have the boots on sale. They're Thanksgiving to through the first little bit after that.
What's 20% off $400, Chad?
$80 off.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to school that kid.
It's $80 off.
$80.
He must have gone to the University of Utah.
That's right.
I'm just kidding.
Actually,
but no. So you're talking $320 instead of $400. Yeah, totally.
That's a good deal,
it's good savings. Good savings. Shields, like all we're in a number of Shields stores, and then a lot of archery shops through Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Montana.
Back at my home in Oregon City area, what are some of the shops that are carrying your boots?
G4 Archery. They're out in Hillsboro.
Okay.
And then as you go south along the I-5 corridor, you've got Waldron's in Roseburg. You've got Diggs Outdoors down in Medford. Baker's in Eugene. I'm missing somebody.
It's okay. They'll just hate you later.
I'll hear about it. But yeah, you're gonna have to find a specialty store to find our boots, or find it online.
Cool.
On a few of our online dealers. But yeah, just go to crispius.com and you can find a dealer near you, and then take advantage of that sale. Like we're hoping people will, because like I said, they don't go on sale too often.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, thanks, guys.
You bet.
I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on the Gritty Bone podcast, and stay gritty.
Stay gritty. Thanks, Brian.